All right, lucky for you, I read hundreds of scientific research papers and psychology studies to find these 3 self-improvement lessons that many millionaires and celebrities are secretly using to get insane results. And lucky for you, you don't have to pay me for any of it. So let's dive right into this. All right, big idea number 1, and what worse way to share a message than just repeat motivational platitudes and little sayings that you put above your toilet that you see at your friend's house when you're going to the bathroom. So instead, why don't I share a story with you? Jake Paul, you love him, you hate him, maybe you don't care at all about him, but one thing's for sure, one of the most successful and wealthy YouTubers in the history of YouTube, and now becoming one of the highest grossing boxers in the world. And to tell you the truth, I never really paid much attention to him. Getting ready for his most recent viral boxing match, I saw an interview pop up on my screen, and it was him showing what he does when he wakes up in the morning, and it really shocked me. So picture this, multi-millionaire Jake Paul wakes up in the morning. What's the first thing that he does? Any guesses? He walks right over to the mirror in the bathroom and he reads his affirmations out loud. He reads them out loud. And he said it all started off with the very first time he tried it. He was in high school and he was a wrestler, and he wrote on a piece of paper, "I, Jake Paul, am one of the most successful wrestlers in the state of Ohio." Then, when he got his sights set on YouTube, he did the same thing. "I, Jake Paul, am one of the most successful YouTubers in the world." Get up, stand in front of the mirror, read it out loud with energy and emotion. And then, flash forward to right before this boxing match, he has the same thing up there saying that he knocked out his opponent and he's one of the top boxers in the world. Now me, a subconscious mind geek and a manifestation affirmation geek, I thought that was pretty fascinating. He didn't just have affirmations. He read them out loud every single morning. And here's where it gets pretty interesting. So there was a study published in Social, Cognitive, and Affective Neuroscience. And it breaks down exactly what Jake Paul was doing and probably why it's worked with him for such a young age and how it can work for you. Now, what they found was by doing an MRI machine on individuals and having them focus emotionally on a picture, a vision, a future, or repeating affirmations, some crazy things happened. They started to activate the prefrontal cortex in their brain. They saw in the MRI machines that they were actually creating electrical activity in their brain from affirmations, pictures, images, and visualizations that they were creating. And here's where it gets really crazy. Neuroscience now tells us that every time you get emotionally involved with an idea, you activate cells in your brain and you build new neural connections. So what Jake Paul's doing every morning, whether he knows it consciously or not, he's building a new brain. First, he built a brain that he was a top wrestler in the state of Ohio. Then that he was a world famous YouTuber. Then that he was one of the highest grossing athletes in the world. So big idea number 1 is stop doing affirmations as such and start doing incantations. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not real. It just responds to feeling. A lot of times, New Age, law of attraction, personal development, people try an affirmation. I'm rich, I'm happy, I'm healthy. But unless you get emotionally involved in the idea, it doesn't work. And an incantation is when you read your affirmations out loud every single morning, taping them on your mirror or your wall. Then you get emotionally involved in it. Then your brain thinks it's really happening, and that's where the really good stuff starts to occur. Now, big idea 2 is where it gets pretty interesting, and it has to do with a part of your brain. It's called the reticular activating system, and for the rest of this video, we'll just refer to it as the RAS, so we can keep it short and I don't get a tongue twister. Try saying that 10 times. Reticular activating system, reticular activating system, reticular activating system. Oh, I could probably have done it actually 10 times, but anyways, we'll just refer to it as the RAS. So the RAS was first discovered in 1949 and published in the EEG Scientific and Medical Journal, and it was discovered doing research and studies at Northwestern University. So essentially what the reticular activating system is a bunch of neurons and cells in your brain that are responsible for controlling information and unconsciously focusing where you put your attention. Now, I know that might sound a little bit kind of abstract, and we're quoting medical journal in 1949 and Northwestern University, but think about it like this, all right? Here's a good story that proves the reticular activating system in real life, right? So when I was a kid, my brother and I used to play this game. We would sit in the back seat of my mom's Volvo, and we would look around for punch buggies, Volkswagen punch buggies. Whoever saw the punch buggy, boom, you could punch the other person. Now, I always lost that game, and I thought my brother was cheating, admittedly, and I always ended up with a very sore arm. But my brother wasn't cheating. It was the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is what connects the conscious and the subconscious mind. When you consciously start looking for a punch buggy, or you just buy a new car, and then you start seeing them on the road, you consciously first see it, but then it becomes subconscious. The reticular activating system is filtering billions of bits of information at every second, and just like a GPS system, it's focusing on the way that it was programmed to focus. So I guess the big question is, Jake, what the hell does this have to do with the video in big idea number 2? How the heck can this help me make more money, create a more epic life, have more awesome relationships? Well, I have a very good technique to do and only take about 30 seconds. Well, one of my mentors, Bob Proctor, used to take one of these index cards, and he was 26 years old. He was a firefighter, and this was in the 40s. Now, he was earning $4,000 a year, and he owed $6,000. And a guy told him to write what you want on a piece of paper. And he wrote he wanted to make $25,000. He didn't even know anyone with $25,000. And if you do the math on it, with his debt, it would take about 8 years for him to accumulate $25,000 if he saved every single dollar and paid off his debt. Well, guess what happened? He wrote on a piece of paper, he carried it around with him everywhere. He was working as a firefighter. He would read it out loud, and it got to the point where the other people in the fire hall started making fun of him. They grabbed the paper out of him. They say, "Proctor says he's gonna have $25,000. What an idiot." So he started going into the bathroom so he could read it with the door locked. Well, what ended up happening? Within 24 months, he was making $175,000, and within a couple years, he had a multi-million-dollar business from cleaning floors, offices in Toronto, Montreal, Cleveland, London, New York, all from this little thing. So big idea number 2 is to take an index card and write what you want in the present tense. Like Jake Paul at the beginning. I, Jake Paul, am a world famous YouTuber. I'm one of the top boxers in the world. I'm one of the top wrestlers in the state of Ohio. Or like my mentor, Bob Proctor, that he had in his possession $25,000. You write it in the present tense, but here's where it gets crazy, because this is taking advantage of the reticular activating system. You carry it in your pocket. You tape one to your wall. You have one in your hand. Sometimes you consciously remember and you look at it and you read it. A lot of times it goes directly into the subconscious. And the same mental power that makes you start to notice the Teslas everywhere, the Lexus, the yellow punch buggies, it's the same one that starts to bring your goals to you quicker and faster by taking advantage of the power of your brain. Now, the final big idea is you have to stop visualizing and you have to start entering the picture. Now, I know that that sounds kind of new agey, but it was actually first discovered by Stanford University researchers, and they called it mental rehearsal. Now, these scientists at Stanford University were studying monkeys. And what they were doing was teaching monkeys how to use cursors on computers, but without using their hands. So they were training them to have the electrical activity in their brain to teach them without physically doing it. And then it begged the question, well, I wonder if this can happen for a human brain. And I wonder if you can mentally rehearse and change your brain for events in the future, i.e. Olympics, athletes, money, the goals you want. And that's exactly what Stanford researchers found. So these neuroscientists at Stanford first published their research in the scientific publication Neuron, and they shared how the brain learns physical tasks even in the absence of real-world movement. The electrical activity in the brain would actually mirror as if they were doing the task. Now, what this study concluded was that the brain doesn't know the difference between a real and an imagined event. To the brain, it's all the same. You can have the same exact electrical activity for an imagined event. So I thought, well, why don't I give this a try? And I was 20 years old. I dropped out of college. My dream was to become a big author like my heroes, Jack Canfield and Wayne Dyer and Bob Proctor. And I started doing this every single day with a success hypnosis. If you want to check out my free success hypnosis, it's right there down below. It's jakeshypnosis.com, pinned to the comments and in the description. Now, I would listen to this success hypnosis every single day, and I would imagine a few things over and over and over. First, I would imagine my books next to Wayne Dyer's in bookstores. And I ended up selling 20,000 copies of a self-published book, getting a book deal with Penguin Random House, the #1 English publishing company in the world, and having my books right next to Wayne Dyer. I did the same thing for this YouTube channel. I was getting like 3 views on videos, 2 were by me and 1 was by my mom, and I wasn't getting any progress and I didn't know if I wanted to keep doing it. And I started mentally rehearsing my channel going viral, sitting down at my computer, shaking the cursor on the mouse on the computer, refreshing the internet browser, and holy cow, my channel just went viral. Oh my gosh, everyone come look, my channel just went viral. And I would replay that little bit with the emotion like that. Crazy thing. The brain started to think it was real, and while I was out of cell service camping for 3 or 4 days, my channel wasn't getting any progress when I left. All of a sudden, I came back, I went to an internet cafe, and I had videos from months ago that started to go viral, and I got more subscribers in that 3 or 4 day period than the entire history of my channel, and the results were never the same again. So big idea number 3 is that Stanford researchers have proven the brain doesn't know the difference between a real and an imagined event. And you can use the power of mental rehearsal to do that. So stop just daydreaming and start mentally rehearsing as if it's already happened. Feel the gratitude, feel and hear your own voice in excitement. Feel what it feels like to jump up and down, looking your eyes in the soulmate or shaking hands with your banker or your business partner after you absolutely just crushed it in business. This has a magic power to it. So whether it's celebrities like Jake Paul, Bob Proctor, whether it's huge neuroscientific researchers and universities like Stanford University, or whether it's weirdo new age freaks like me, we're all saying the same thing. You're more powerful than you can possibly believe. And when you start doing incantations, you get your index card and you mentally rehearse, anything is possible. But if you're still thinking, Jake, well, how do I actually change my beliefs, right? And that's the big thing, because you can watch YouTube videos, but it's another thing to change your mind and to change your brain. And that's why I created a free success hypnosis to reprogram my subconscious mind. You can get it for free right there down below in the description and pinned to the comments. It's jakeshypnosis.com right there down below. So be sure to check that out to let the subconscious rewiring begin. And a lot of people are like, yo, Jake, I want some more videos on the subconscious mind. So I'll go ahead and link some of the best ones right up here for you to check out. See you on the next video.